It's Jeff from Ayelet Tours, and since 1986, we've been connecting people to Israel and the Jewish world. We are the official partner for Hadassah Missions to Israel. We run trips all over the world with the Traveling University featuring outstanding scholars. And of course, we run trips for Jewish singles as well under the banner of Best Day Adventures. And we've been doing these virtual programs for years. And my God, they're a wonderful opportunity for us to all continue learning together, even when we're not physically traveling together. And thank each and every one of you out there for being a part of this virtual community for all these years. So thank you. We are very lucky this evening to be joined by Professor Yale Strom and Elizabeth Schwartz, who bring a different set of talent than I would say we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks. We've had, of course, brilliant presentations, first on Italy from Professor Mark Michael Epstein from Vassar, and last week talking about Uzbekistan with Dr. David Mendelson. This week we're going to be focused on Greece. Yale Strom and Elizabeth Schwartz, of course, have been leading trips for us for many years, and one of the amazing things that they bring to the table is their almost like Renaissance quality of talent, not just musical, but otherwise. I know the two of you are involved with all sorts of artistic endeavors, far and wide. So I'm curious, outside of the trips we have coming up, do you have anything else coming up that people should know about?
Well, let's see. Those who are in the New Jersey, New York City region, they can come hear us on Christmas Day. It's actually the biggest concert that Eldridge Street Synagogue does, and how perfect, down in Chinatown. So come hear us at 2 p.m. and then go out for Chinese food in the Lower East Side. And Elizabeth, she recently had she'll tell you about her book. I'll just tell you. And yes, we're working on a musical right now about the life of Mark and Bella Chagall. And I hope to see you. Hopefully we'll be leading this tour with you to Greece, and also one in May of 2026 to Romania.
You have two books coming out?
Oh, thank you. She's reminding me. And I have two books coming out. I have my first historical novel coming out at the end of this year, told through the eyes and ears of a violin. So it'll be kind of interesting, called the Offenbacher. And I have a book, historical book, music book, that is based upon Hasidic music that I found. And it's the only copy of this music because the original had been lost by the stolen Rebbe in Jerusalem, and that's coming out next year. So but here we are. We're going to talk about Greece.
Yeah, not only tourism. You've got a lot of things keeping the two of you busy. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. Well, we'll talk a little.
Can I just say?
Yeah, please.
We really, what interests us and kind of is our everything foremost in what we do is we love to explore Jewish culture in as many media as we can. And physically, we do it with Ayelet or when we tour. But we do it artistically in a lot of different media.
Yeah, right. Including music.
Absolutely. So beautiful. So we'll get underway here this evening. Very excited for the presentation. After the formal presentation, of course, we invite people to ask whatever questions they would like through the Q&A function in the Zoom window. We'll get to as many of those as we can. This will be a recorded session, so if you'd like to tell other people about it, share it, you're welcome to do it. And I'm very excited because we think we've finally figured out the live music portion of this. It's hard with Zoom webinars. Sometimes the live music doesn't sound great, but hopefully we've got it figured out. So for this evening's presentation, I'll turn it over to you to begin.
All right. So this tune, folks, is one that I composed for a whole series, Fiddlers, Philosophers, and Fools, National Public Radio, and the key host was Leonard Nimoy, of blessed memory, and this was a story. So they had all these Jewish short stories, and this one actually was a Greek Jewish short story. So they said, yeah, write original music that sounds Greek. So it's called The Four Questions, obviously what we would do on Pesach. So I hope you enjoy it. Here it goes, The Four Questions.
Beautiful. All right, I'm going to share the screen for the presentation. You can take it from here.
Okay. Okay, everybody. So Greece. Here's some of the noted facts. So, after the first destruction of the first temple in Jerusalem, 568 BCE, Jews were sold into slavery to the Greek islands. Greek and Roman writers wrote about well-established Jewish settlements in the first century of BCE. So, going back a long time, as Ashkenazim, we often think of, Poland is the center of Jewish life in the world. But in many ways, the Mediterranean really is, as we all know, and particularly Greece. After the Jewish-Roman War, 66 to 70 CE, so it's a common era, the Hashmonaim, right, the Maccabeans, that was the uprising. A number of Jews increased significantly as the victors sold more Jews into slavery. During the early and middle years of the Byzantine rule, that's a key word, by the way, Byzantine, because we're going to play a tune that comes from the Byzantine times. Jewish life became more difficult. After Constantine the Great converted to Christianity in 330, the Common Era, he and succeeding emperors periodically issued edicts which significantly limited the rights of Jews. But when the Ottoman Turks began their conquest of the Balkans in 1365, so 1,000 years later, life became better and richer for the Jews. During this time, the Jews from Hungary and the Iberian Peninsula were fleeing persecution and found refuge under the Turks in the north and south regions of Greece. Let me just slowly pull down here. Ooh, I don't need that. I just need to...
There you go.
Right. Well, I need to... Sorry, folks, just so I can read. There we go. With the final expulsion of the Sephardic Jews from Spain and Portugal, Spain 1492, Portugal 1496, thousands of Jewish exiles found refuge in the Ottoman-ruled Greece. But the Sephardim were not the only Jews to have found refuge in ancient Greece. So the oldest Jewish community in Greece, it's not the Sephardic Jews, certainly not the Ashkenazic Jews, but it's the Romaniote Jews. See the word Roman there, so the Roman times. The Romaniote Jews were one of the oldest Jewish communities in existence since before the Common Era, and the oldest Jewish community in Europe. They spoke Yavanic, a Greek dialect only Jews define, a Greek dialect that contained Hebrew, Aramaic, some Turkish words. Yavan is how we say Greece in Hebrew, so that's where it comes from. The Romaniote were almost completely assimilated by their Sephardic brethren, except for a few Yavanic-speaking communities, Yanina, Crete, Chalkis, which we'll go to, and Patras. When we are on our tour, we'll learn more about these fascinating Jewish communities and their culture and history. So, our next card is, and I'll put it up, bring it up here. Oh, why am I not seeing it?
I think that is it.
Oh, yes, that is it. Thank you.
Sorry, we're artists. We're not techies.
Exactly. So, the city in the north that we'll go to, and I hope you join us, for Purim, of all places, and music, Greece, how can you not? It's going to be such a great time. Is Saloniki in the north, which is called the Mother of Israel, or sometimes even people called it the Jerusalem of the, I'm going to make sure, of the West, actually, right? Because it's west of actually Jerusalem. At the beginning of the 19th century, Saloniki, or Thessaloniki, became the leading Jewish commercial center in the Balkans, while Rhodes became the leading center for rabbinical scholars in the Balkans. After World War I and the collapse of the Ottoman Empire, the chaotic exchange of people between Turkey and Greece, particularly from the Anatolia and Aegean Sea regions, caused the Jewish population in Greece to swell to 100,000. So people were going, some were going from west to east, east to west, because of the new borders being drawn up after World War I. So it was a balagan. In fact, there were Greek Jews that were left in Turkey, and it was fine until they decided to leave. There were Turkish Jews that were in Greece proper. They stayed for a while until, of course, what messes things up is usually not people themselves, but it's the political powers. And so that's why they had to separate. During World War II, Greece was conquered by Nazi Germany and occupied by the Axis powers. Some 60 to 70,000 Greek Jews, or at least 81% of the country's Jewish population was murdered. The majority were from Saloniki, where 90% of the Jewish population of Saloniki were perished. During the war, many Jews fought valiantly in the partisans, where they controlled the mountains in the province of Thessaly. So the Jews that went into the mountains, they found their comrades in arms. These were Greek Catholics, or if they were not Catholic, they were atheists, or and many of them were communist, socialists, Greeks, and the Jews finding that commonality in terms of that political ethos, and that's where they were able to go and hide and fight back strongly, because the German soldiers, there were some Italian, but they left by 1943. The Italians said, "We're out of here. We're having enough. We don't want to be on the losing side." They could already see that. The Nazis, with the help, sadly to say, but the truth of the Bulgarian fascists, because I'm sure many of you might say, "Oh, but no Jews in Bulgaria proper ever perished." Yes, you said the word Bulgaria proper, but when Bulgaria took parts of Thessaly, parts of Macedonia, which is today, it's its own country, North Macedonia, their Jews were deported to various camps. But as I was saying, so the mountains, the Jews were able to hide well. It was very difficult terrain. So after World War II, many of the partisans, including the Jews, fought in the Greek Civil War. That was 1944 December to February of 1945 against the U.S. and United Kingdom-backed Greek monarchy forces under King George II. Again, lots of interesting politics to talk here. Who's choosing what side and whatnot. But Jews said, we're going to fight with our brethren that helped save me, save my family, and so forth. And we want to create a new Greece. So that's also, and we'll talk about that more in detail when we're actually in Greece. Today there's about 5,000 to 6,000 Jews in Greece, most of them in Athens and Thessaloniki, with smaller communities in Larissa, which we'll go to, Trikala we'll go to, and Volos. On our tour, we'll not only meet members of these communities, but celebrate Purim with them. That's going to be in Thessaloniki. So to hear the Megillah, to hear their melodies. In fact, you know what? I'm going to take a moment and let me see if I'm going to play you something, just a little piece. I'm going to find my cursor. Where's my cursor? Okay, here. And let me just go here. So everybody, this is a Purim song that was originally from Yanina, but also sung in Saloniki, and they sing it in Romaniot, which I remember the Hebrew, Greek, and some Turkish words in it, and Aramaic words. And listen to this Byzantine melody. It comes from the time of Byzantine. It's something very different from klezmer or Israeli music. Listen. You're going to start to sing in a moment. Sorry about that, it stopped on its own. But anyhow, so you get a sense of very different kind of music that often that we play, and those who know of Yale Strom and Elizabeth Schwartz, we obviously do a lot of Yiddish as well as klezmer and Ladino music, but this is very different. So thinking of that, we're going to play you, or I should say I'm going to enjoy my wife singing and playing Ein Kelohenu, a Romania. So here's Ein Kelohenu, a Romania Byzantine. So this melody is probably 1,800 years old.
I also just want to mention, since we're on the subject of Thessaloniki, I always pick a song that will be our trip song that we will learn and sing together from where we're going. So that will be a very old Ladino song from Thessaloniki. But this is a Romano song, and you'll know the poetry, but the melody is very different. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Micheloheinu, Michadonenu, Michel Malkeinu, Michemoshienu. Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shehitiru Avotenu, Lefenecha et Ketoret Hasamim.
Wow, very nice, Elizabeth. Yeah, and you can it's a very different melody to our ears. And so on our trips, we have the Scholar-Palooza, and I'm going to get back to that in 1 second. But it's the music. We will play music. Elizabeth said she's going to be teaching you a Greek Jewish song. But then we also get local professional, not amateur, professional musicians where they'll present. Now, I don't ask them to present Jewish music. I can do that. I rather have them do Greek folk music depending on the region, because one might think, all the same. No, Greek music from Halkis is different from Thessaloniki, is different from Corfu. There's similarities, but there are also differences because of different groups of people. So that also makes these trips very special, and you're getting usually in a very intimate space. So getting back to a little of the history. So the oldest synagogue which we'll visit in Athens is the Romaniot Synagogue Eitz Chaim, a name commonly used for the Romaniot the Tree of Life Romaniot Synagogue. It was built in 1904 by Romaniot Jews from Yanina, but they had come down to Athens to live. It operated on the second floor of the building, while the ground floor was initially used for needs of the Jewish Talmud Torah school, and a section of it served as a residence of the rabbi. And what is in the courtyard? Well, something that Jews, when they come to a village town, what's the first thing they do? They look for a site before the synagogue, the Beis Oilem, the cemetery. They look for a site for the shul, the synagogue, the Beit Knesset. And the third is they look for the site where the mikveh is going to be. And that is in the courtyard. The primary synagogue of Athens today is Beth Shalom, built in 1935 by the Sephardic Committee of Athens on the original site where Jewish refugees from Asia Minor held religious sermons. However, the interior was not completed prior to World War II. During World War II, the synagogue was not used. Since the interior had not been completed prior to the war, it was initially finished in 1951 to be fully renovated in 1975. And ever since, Beth Shalom has been the main active synagogue. And it's been one that I've attended to. You'll see it. It has a very, Greek-Roman kind of edifice. The stones, if you're seeing that picture there, you can see it, right? And a white facade, different from a Moorish-style synagogue that we even see in Hungary and in other countries, different from the Polish style, the very famous ones that were that had those wooden roofs, wooden structures. So that's also something interesting to see how Jews were influenced when they were creating their structures, their buildings, and following, of course, the local common, what the architecture, the art of that region was. Okay, Chalkis, just 45 minutes to my geography is pretty good, to the east. The great peculiarity of the Jewish community of Chalkis is that Jews lived there uninterrupted for 2,500 years. Probably one of the few in Europe in that case. They settled mainly in the northeast of the fortress. 2,000 years ago, Flavius Joseph already mentions the presence of Jews in the Greek city in his work. The same goes for the traveler Benjamin de Tuadela 12 centuries later. So Flavius Joseph, what we know about those ancient times, and even about Jesus, Yehoshua, which was a Jew, right? We know it from Flavius's writing. So we poured over those books. Flavius wrote, he was a historian and writer. And of course, Benjamin Tudela of Tudela, sometimes known as Benjamin the Traveler, he took this amazing trip leaving southern Spain in the, let me get it right, the 12th century, and decides to go, and some think, we're not for sure, but we believe he made it all the way over to China and came back. But he's a real person, and from his writings, because he's meeting people, he's meeting Jews, he's meeting non-Jews, and so sort of this ethnographic, anthropological research that he did. So that's how come we know a bit more about these regions, particularly I was talking about Greece. If you're looking at that photo, that's a photo I took some years ago. So I was invited for a Shabbos meal, and there were my hosts there giving me a toast. Okay, so we go to Volos. You see the interior of that synagogue there, really nice. That's another photo of mine. It's you can see what it says. Volos, the synagogue in Volos is a Romanian community centered on the corner of let me see if I say Moseus Platonos and Xenophondos streets, originally built in 1865. The original structure was destroyed by the Germans in 1943, but rebuilt in the 1960s after earthquakes, right? That's something Greece and those islands have. I assure you we won't have to worry about any earthquakes, no. Dating back to the 2nd century, the community center was rebuilt with assistance from the Joint, from Jews like you and myself listening here. Before World War II, some 565 Jews lived in Volos. Today, there are less than 100 Jews. Also in Volos, which is interesting, is I put there because I said we have some time. You know, obviously we focus on our Jewish heritage and culture and everything. What was, what is, what will be, but also what else is interesting about the city. And literally the largest, now I can't remember the Greek word for it, or the zoological word, but the largest collection of butterflies. They have a butterfly museum in the world. So so if you might say, who's the Meshuggah who's taking us to a butterfly museum? Well, it is I. First of all, I love butterflies, but who finds fault in a beautiful butterfly? So I'm just thinking, let me go to Larissa, and then we'll play another tune for you. So Larissa, this is a bigger than Volos and has an active Jewish community. Again, there's the interior of the synagogue. You can see it. What you might notice, you see the bimas often were in the center. You see, there's the seats in front and in back. The synagogue was built in 1860-61 after a major fire 3 years earlier destroyed most of the Jewish quarter. During World War II, the synagogue was taken over by the Germans and used as a stable, suffering serious damage, but luckily they didn't burn it down. It was fully restored and its interior reconstructed soon after the war with the aid, again, of the Joint. It underwent further renovations in 1991 with donations from members of the community, other Jewish communities in Greece, and the Central Board of Jewish Communities of that region. The synagogue just reopened. So when I say just, on June 15, 2025, after having been closed since 2019 for renovations. So we'll get to see this newly renovated synagogue. The synagogue is believed to have been originally a Romaniote structure, but the post-war restoration laid out the sanctuary in a traditional Sephardic style on the eastern wall, and the teva, and so the ark is on the eastern wall, but the bima is in the center. One might just question why. I remember my first time going to Sephardic countries. I was working on a book about Sephardic Jews. I'm in Istanbul. Here my whole life I've been going to these Ashkenazic synagogues. There's the bima, there's the ark, and everyone's behind it or in front of it, whatever which way. They said no, and they said this is more egalitarian because then there's no special seat, right? You don't get as close to the eastern wall as close to the Arona Kodesh. The circle makes it more egalitarian, so everyone gets to hear, because the main key is not to hear the prayers. Because if you're going to synagogue, they assume you know how to read Hebrew and you can follow the prayers. It's to hear the Torah being chanted. And so why should one in row 25 hear it a little less than the person in row 1 or 2? So in the circle, it's a little bit more fair. So that was something coming from this Mediterranean Sephardic mindset, philosophy. The population of Larissa before the war was about 1,120 people. Today, 726, they said exactly. Well, after the war, I should say 726. Today, about 200 to 300 members. So let's play.
When are we doing Kital Talk?
Oh, you know what? Let's do it now. So you know what? And I mentioned about the Sephardic. So I've been saying a lot about the Romaniot. So, and that's the earliest Jews. But you might ask, but Yale, I thought Sephardic Jews went there. Absolutely. And in these communities, 1493, some came who saw the handwriting on the wall, so to speak, left earlier than 1492. Remember the expulsion in Spain, 1492, and then 1496. Anyhow, what's the key is the Jews brought their culture. They brought Ladino, music, food, and then they mix it with the local people. So this song that Elizabeth's going to sing, she'll tell you about it, and it's actually on a recording of ours called
Shimmering Lights.
Shimmering Lights.
You know how artists do a Christmas album? We did a Hanukkah album.
Right.
Of course. This song, Kitaltas, it's a Sephardic song, and it is not only, I think, one of the oldest songs that we, and I don't mean Yale and I mean the music ethnographic world, knows from Sephardic culture, but it's thought to have come from Greece. And it's a Hanukkah song. So it's bring out the tray, take the tray. The children do this in the month of Hanukkah. Let us all come together. This is what I love. Think about, we're going back many, many centuries, at least half a millennium. Put the chicken in the pot to make broth to take to the neighbor as medicine. I love that. I'm sorry, I'm a New Yorker. We didn't invent chicken soup. In the months of Hanukkah, let us all come together. The first one puts the oil in the can up to 10. The next one puts the flour in the sack up to 10. To make bormuelos, are the Sephardic sufganiyot. In the days of Hanukkah, let us all come together. And it goes like this. And I'm going to sing it a cappella, but when you hear the melody, you'll hear it doesn't sound even as new as that Romaniot, Ein Kelohenu. It sounds older. Kitatas, metatas, las muchachas meten baz, en el mes de Hanukkah, sorriaremos la cefa. Kitatas, metatas, las muchachas meten baz, en el mes de Hanukkah, sorriaremos la cefa. Quita la gallina de la cucina, quita la gallina de la cucina, dale el caldo la vecina que le se llame lezina. En el mes de Hanukkah, sorriaremos la cefa. La una quita la aceite de un teneque hasta 10. La otra quita la harina de un saco hasta 10 para hacer los burbuelos en los días de Hanukkah. Sorriaremos la cefa.
Very nice, Elizabeth. I hope you enjoyed that out there, folks. So a little bit more about Larissa, and these are photos of mine. Again, you can see I had fun with the kids there. They were all posing. That was a Jewish day school. So they have a newish cemetery that's only 2 years old. They have kosher meat for the Jewish holidays. They can still get there. And, I'm seeing the, yes, and then the recess. Oh, I see it. I was reading my own captions I put there. So that's a kosher butcher, the black and white in the middle, that they got meat for, but the holidays. because there's so few that kept it, so it wouldn't have been profitable. But for the holidays, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, whatever they say, we want kosher meat, they would order it, and the Jews would come there. And then that is a picture of the recess. Let's see. Let me just moving down here. Okay. So Thessaloniki. Oh, right. I will say personally, having been to all these cities, Athens, of course, is a great city, and people go to Athens, and you see the Acropolis and, whatnot, everything. But for me, as someone interested in, obviously, deeply in Jewish history, Jewish music, culture, Jewish languages, I'm going to talk about that in a second. I saw a note to myself. I want to bring that up to you again. Saloniki really just is such an interesting city, and it also has that port because it's in the north, right? So it's on the Aegean Sea. The synagogue was begun to be built 1925, completed in 1927. And who were the Jews that provided the money from Monastir, which is today in Macedonia? Is it Macedonia or in Montenegro? I think it's Montenegro. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yes, in the Kingdom of Yugoslavia, but it's not longer Yugoslavia. The consecration by the chief rabbi of Thessaloniki, Chaim Raphael Habib, took place on the 24th of September 1927, and families fled Monastir during the Balkan Wars. So there were Balkan Wars. So even before World War I began, already the Balkan Wars, so Bulgarians were fighting and Jews got in the midst. Jews were on the Bulgarian side, Jews were on the Greek side, Jews were on the Turkish side. And so the Jews that were on the losing side, they said, well, we don't want to stay here. And where did they go? So as those Jews from Monastir, they went to then Saloniki, creating their own kihila, their own Jewish community. The synagogue was not destroyed during World War II because it was used as a Red Cross warehouse. The Monastir synagogue is the last traditional synagogue in Saloniki in the great tradition of Salonican synagogues bearing in their name the place of origin of the congregation members. That's why it's called the Monastir. So if they built, for example, there was a synagogue built in 1376 called the Ashkenaz in Saloniki. Well, Ashkenazim, coming from somewhere in Central Eastern Europe. Then in 1391, Provincia, well, from Provence. France, right, 1394. And then 1423, Italia Yashan. So parts of then what was the country of Italy today. Today, however, the Monastir synagogue is rarely used. And it's the Yad LaZikaron synagogue, known as the Burla, which means small, is the one that the community uses. It was built in 1984. So I'm thinking most likely we'll probably have the Purim Megillah reading and the services and singing and the party, because what's Purim without a party, right? Food, little drinking, lots of dancing, lots of music, and lots of noise making, right? Groggers. But we'll visit the Monastir for sure. I put that on there because you have to see this. The cuisine to eat when you're in Saloniki, well, they say the most famous being, and Elizabeth, she'll talk to you when we're more about this.
Because I think about food all the time.
Well, not only about food, but no, she's actually a published, she's published recipes and cooks very well. So they have this famous burakitas, a small cheese pie with eggplant that is eaten on special occasions and holidays. And then from Saloniki, and of course Saloniki, there'll be other things. There was a very famous bookstore, I'm forgetting the name now, it was for years, and it closed about 5 years ago, but we'll go see the place. It was a Jewish-owned bookstore by a very illustrious Jewish family of Saloniki. I'm just thinking, of course, there was a big fire in Saloniki, 1912 fire. It's a beautiful port city, that I remember, walking along the wharf at nighttime in the beautiful weather. So Saloniki, I'm really looking forward to showing you. Okay, so let's get to Corfu. And before I talk about Corfu, let's play some songs. We're going to play two tunes that actually come from Corfu. These are Greek melodies, but what's interesting is you're going to hit the second one when we play it. You're going to say, wow, that sounds a little bit Jewish. It just shows you how Jewish musicians were traveling, listening, going back and forth, and had big ears. Because they're saying, I like that melody. How do I incorporate it for my tefillas, my tefillot, my prayers, or my wedding song, or whatever. And so the give and take. So there's nothing, so no one can say, oh, this is purely this. No. It's just like, it's like saying, what do you mean this is purely this pastry? There's influences from different cultures that help bring those spices and so forth to make it taste so good. So here we go. We're going to play you these two melodies that come from the island of Corfu, and we'll talk about Corfu and Jewish history in just a moment. The great Zorba, the Greek, these tunes that we think about Greece and beautiful melodies often do start slow, where the men are dancing with the men, the women are dancing with the women, and slow, but faster and faster. And that's to create that trance-like feeling, and they leave it's like their mind, their spirit, whatever, leaves the body and goes somewhere else. The power of music.
Yeah, we took it easy on you, because we could have done that for about 2 more hours.
We could. Now
we'll see what happens in Corfu.
That's right. Now here's I'm organizing. I will be organizing a concert for us in Corfu. But I'm going to try to get 1 or 2 local musicians to join us. So here's one that has that kind of a Jewish flavor to it a little bit, but it comes from the island of Corfu. Who knows? Maybe the Jews of Corfu might have composed this. Yes, I love Greek music. It's just something energetic. Okay, so the island of Corfu.
Can I say something about Corfu?
Yeah, yes, please.
I know I'm just a humble musician, but I did insist that we go to an olive oil tasting in Corfu because, it's Greece.
That's
Anybody who comes on this tour with us, just leave a little extra space in your suitcase.
right, definitely. Yeah, and a little extra space in your boyach, in your stomach, too, because the food is good. So let's see. Jews have been in Corfu since the 1100s. I'm going to add some stuff. Let me see here. Yes, since 1100. Even at the time of German occupation during the Second World War, the Jewish community in town was almost 2,000 strong. The Jewish community today, though, comprises only 60 individuals. But what's interesting about Corfu, I'm getting to the language part now. So in Corfu, there were Romaniote Jews who spoke the Romaniote Jewish language. There were the Sephardic Jews, it's the Sephardic language, those who, that's of course Ladino, but mixing Spanish, Aramaic, and Hebrew, and of course, as the Jews left the Iberian Peninsula, mixing it with Turkish as well as Greek. So the Ladino in Greece is going to be is different from the Ladino, let's say, in Croatia, because they're listening and adding Greek words versus Croatian words. But there was another language and another group of Jews. These were the Italian Jews that were, Italy was various kingdoms. Italy wasn't Italy until after 1848. And so you had the Venetians and all these other various kingdoms, and the Italians ruled this part, and Italian Jews came, and they spoke a language called Italiakian, right? By pronouncing it, Italikian, and this is a Venetian language, and also from Apulia, where it's mixing this old Italian with Hebrew, Aramaic, and a little Greek. And not very many people speak it today, and I want to say, like Romaniote as well as Ladino, as well as this Italian Jewish, let's say, Judeo-Italiana language, they all were written in Hebraic letters, Hebrew letters first, for many years. It wasn't until the 1900s, the 1800s, so the beginning of the 19th century, when these languages then adopted the Greek alphabet. So if any of you are doing research and you go to a library and say, wow, here's this song written in Romaniote, or what's it, Italiankian, but I can't understand it, because it has lettering that's Hebraic, but I don't recognize it. So, but of course things were translated. So that's something very interesting. I also, of course, the Holocaust was there, but what's key about Corfu is the Jews that survived, because it was an island. So think about it. Here you're on an island. So now you're taking a boat to the mainland, and then sadly the Jews that were taken to camps, particularly all the way north to Birkenau, Auschwitz, it was 7 to 9 days on a train if you even survived it. The Jews who survived in Corfu, we thank primarily the Corfu Christian community that hid them there, because there was no real major animosity between these various groups of people. They had gotten along for 2,000 years on this island. There is a synagogue. There was once 4, and there's one there today, and we'll get to see that. And a visiting rabbi, sometimes from Athens, and I think actually sometimes from I want to say Belgrade, because it's not that far, because we're far north. Here's Greece, right? It's kind of long, and Athens is here. So actually, Corfu's up here, very north. So actually, Belgrade's not that far. And they come on the Jewish holidays there. All right, so let's just see, kind of finishing up, and then we'll play a tune for you. I've given a lot of information, so hopefully you have some questions. Oh, I know I wanted to do, because I looked this up today, because I love languages. For me, language is like music. So here's some Romanian words that you can hear or understand the relationship to Hebrew. And if you don't, I'll explain it. So this one's obvious. Rimonim. Well, in Hebrew, what's rimonim? Well, we're going to be eating some of those very soon. Rimonim are pomegranates. And that's one of the beautiful fruits that we use to celebrate our table, decorate our tables and so forth in synagogues, right, for Rosh Hashanah. And in Yavanic, which is the Greek Jewish language, what does it mean when you say rimonim? Pomegranates, but also breasts. Well, I guess it could be,
Well, we'll be on the lookout for someone who's using it a certain way.
Right. Then the word for thief, well, we all know that. Yiddish, ganav, right? Ganov is how they say it in the Romania, the Yanav language. This I thought was interesting. Emit, which comes from the word emet, right? Truth. So they say emit for truth. This one's interesting. I had to look this one up because I couldn't see the relation. Pas is how you say in Romaniot, fool. and it comes from T-Peish. Well, the pas is the last two letters of the pas. Oh, it's Peish. So that's interesting. And last but not least, the word for church in Romano is kalinka, which I found interesting, and that comes from kinesia. Kinesia is how you say it. So the kinesia, kalinka, how it came originally from the Hebrew. And so just like how languages morph and borrow, so does the music, and we'll certainly be doing that a lot for you. I think that's it music-wise, right?
Jeff, do we have time for a little bit more music, or should we go right to Q&A?
With pleasure. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to play one more?
What tune?
Yeah.
Encore. I need to take out the
Carol?
lighter. Actually, people don't do lighters anymore. You take out the phone now.
Oh, okay, right.
Well, we can't see it, but we feel it.
All right, exactly.
So, this last song that we're going to play for you is a klezmer melody, and we chose it because if you remember the last Greek song we played, you'll hear so much similarity, and we love the interconnection and the porosity of Jewish culture. So you can get a sense of the trail of klezmers coming from the Balkans all the way through Central and Eastern Europe.
Okay.
And this was from Romania, and Romania was part of the Ottoman Empire. As
Right. Well, the specifically Moldavia and Wallachia were, and so there you have that Turkish Ottoman influence up there. So here we go. More if I think about it, it does have that little Greek flavor to it. All right.
Beautiful. Well, you guys couldn't see it, but I'm over here having shots of ouzo and smashing plates on the ground. It's
you're throwing plates on the ground. Great. You're already ready to go.
Yeah. Thank you, Yale and Elizabeth, for a lovely presentation. Musically and historically, it's much appreciated. We'll see. I think there's a couple questions in the chat we'll get to before we start to wrap up here, but very exciting. And I just want to say one thing, which is that, of course, we've been working together on tours for several years. You've led groups really all over the world to Argentina and Morocco and Spain. And one of the things we consistently hear from travelers who have the opportunity to travel with you is just the remarkable artistic brilliance that you bring to the trip, and the energy, the high level of energy that you bring. So it really is something that enhances the travel experience. So thank you both for continuing to create these incredible opportunities. And for those that are interested, of course, as we discussed, you'll be leading this trip to Greece at the end of February 2026 into March. And then on to Romania in May. So information about both of those trips and many, many other trips, of course, can be found on our website, ayelet.com. Okay, yeah, it looked like you had something you want to say before I get
well, I just saw a question from Betsy Frank, if she's still listening. She says, please tell them we await them Thursday night.
We'll see you Thursday.
Tomorrow we're flying to Grand Rapids, to Detroit, driving. So anyone in Grand Rapids will be playing Thursday night at Temple Emmanuel. Yes, thank you, Marty. Very good. It was the Mohole. I couldn't remember that. The Mohole bookstore sadly closed. Been around for almost 100 years.
Hold on. Yeah, I can ask questions for you.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Great. Okay, great. So yeah, that was from Marty Evans, who clarified the name of the bookstore for you. You got a couple interesting questions from Sanford and Doreen Turbo. First, they wrote, they're very pleased with your knowledge, background, and talent. Thank you so much. And just asked, what's the name of the language that's part Hebrew and part Turkish? Can you just say that one more time?
The language, there's the two that I spoke about today specifically. So the Romaniot has Turkish words in it, Greek words, Romaniot, or let me actually give you the other. They call it Yevanika, coming Yevan, which is the Hebrew word for Greece. Aramaic, Hebrew, Greek, and some Turkish. The other, though, and I might be mispronouncing it, Italiakian, Italikian, and that is that language in Corfu they spoke, and so it's Italian, but coming from specifically the Venice region, Hebrew, Aramaic, and some Greek. So those are the two, and there's actually an institute for those who want to know more. We actually have a friend of ours in LA. She, Professor Sarah Benor, who studies ancient languages. It is kind of funny. It's like looking for music. So thank you for that question.
All right. So one question, actually not related to this one in particular, but somebody wrote in just asking about past episodes. Just so people know, we are posting, usually within a week of these programs, we're posting them to our YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube/Ayelet Tours or whatever it is, you can find these past programs. Last week's program on Uzbekistan is already posted there. Nice comment from Shirley Wise. Hi, Shirley. Fantastic. Love the music and enthusiasm. She's writing from Kalamazoo, which is always fun.
Kalamazoo. All right. Yeah. Well, maybe you'll see us in Grand Rapids, but better yet, come to join us in Greece.
That's right. Yeah. And of course, Marty Evidence writes in, just says, just want to add that Yale and Elizabeth, besides being superbly talented musicians, are wonderful tour guides, and I loved traveling with them. Thank you, Marty.
Thank you, Marty.
Back at you, Marty.
We'll see you soon, Marty.
All right, so everyone, of course, as we start to wrap up here, we do not have a program next week. It's Rosh Hashanah, but we will be back together for the exciting conclusion, part 4 of our Scholar-Palooza series with Professor Stephen Burke. On September 30th, he's going to be talking about Germany's Shum cities, which then we will be visiting on his Rhine River cruise next June. So it should be a very interesting program. That's September 30th. Once again, you can find out information about traveling with Yale and Elizabeth or Professor Burke or all of the other scholars that we have on our website at ayelet.com. And since this is our last program before the holidays begin, I want to just make sure that we have a chance to wish everybody out there a good and sweet new year. Shana Tova, wishing everybody well.
Yes,
Yale and Elizabeth, any closing thoughts before we wrap up here?
I would say, in addition to the Shana Tova, we would say a Shana Toive in Yiddish. We would say a Zisen und Gebenchten und Gesinnten Neue Jahr, which is a sweet and holy and healthy New Year.
Right.
And a Buena Añada.
Which is
I truly could not have said it better.
Right. I wish
And by next year at this time, we will know how to say it in these other languages.
Right.
Absolutely. All right. Wonderful. Shana Tova. Thank you both so much.
you.
Good
pleasure.
evening.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everyone, for coming and listening. Bye.